Welcome on YouTube. If you're on YouTube, I'm showing the press briefing. I have to retitle this. Okay, edit. White. Oops, gosh darn. We're covering the White House press briefing because and the Paul Manafort indictment. Okay, save changes. Okay, I just have to get all the tags in and stuff. White House press briefing, Sarah Sanders, Paul Manafort. Okay, save changes. I should probably put live. People are trying to look at this. Okay, save changes. Okay. Okay, great. Thank you, everybody. Oh, I have to do more. Shoot. I can do that while it's playing. I think I only have one person tuned in. I'm going to leave it. We're going to be able to see it from basically the beginning because we're taking a little bit of a delay first. We're going to be showing the press briefing. Paul Manafort indictment today. I'll get started with it. Then we'll replay anything that's not good. We have people tuned in on Twitch. We have people tuned in on YouTube, or we will.
Aid to drink beer. So the bar owner suggested that it would be fair to reduce each man's bill by a higher percentage the poorer he was. By doing that, he explained, they'd continue following the principle of the tax system they'd been using. So he proceeded to work out the amounts he suggested that each should pay now. And so the fifth reporter, like the first four, now paid nothing. He got a 100% saving. The sixth now paid $2 instead of $3, a 33% saving. The seventh now paid $5 instead of $7, a 28% saving. The eighth now paid $9 instead of $12, a 25% saving. The ninth now paid $14 instead of $18, which was a 22% saving. And the 10th now paid $49 instead of $59, a 16% saving. So each of the six was better off than before, and the first four continued to drink for free. But once outside the bar, the reporters began to compare their savings. I only got $1 out of the $20 saving, declared the sixth reporter, and she pointed to the 10th reporter. He got 10. Yes, that's right, exclaimed the fifth reporter. I only saved $1 too. It's unfair that he received 10 times more benefit than me. That's true, shouted the seventh reporter. Why should he get $10 back when I only got 2? The wealthy gets all the breaks. Wait a minute, yelled the first four reporters in unison. We didn't get anything at all. This new tax system exploits the poor. The 9 reporters yelled at the 10th and made him feel bad. So the next night, the 10th man didn't show up for drinks, and the 9 sat down and had their beers without him. But when it came time to pay the bill, they discovered something important. They no longer had enough money between them all to even cover half of the bill. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is how our tax system works. The people who already paid the highest taxes will naturally benefit from a tax reduction, but not the largest percent benefit. Taxing them too much, attack them, and they might start drinking overseas where the atmosphere is somewhat friendlier. This is a silly story, of course, but it illustrates some very important points. Our tax cuts and reforms will create a fairer system that works better for everyone. And it will make our country the friendliest in the world for American families trying to build a better life for themselves and their children, and for American companies seeking a competitive edge. And I'll be happy to get that story to everybody so that you can get those numbers later. Again, I know that may be an oversimplification, but I think it paints a very good picture of the tax system. And with that, I'll take your questions.
Sarah, first I'd like to get the White House reaction to the indictments of Paul Manafort and Rick Gates and the plea agreement with George Papadopoulos. And specifically, I know we have heard a couple of tweets from the president. If you can help me understand, when he says, why aren't crooked Hillary and the Dems the focus, is the president saying that Special Counsel Mueller should really be investigating Hillary Clinton and the Democrats? And is he going to rule out once and for all firing Robert Mueller?
Look, I'll address the second question first. President said last week, I believe it was last week, and I've said several times before, there's no intention or plan to make any changes in regards to special counsel. But look, today's announcement has nothing to do with the president, has nothing to do with the president's campaign or campaign activity. The real collusion scandal, as we've said several times before, has everything to do with the Clinton campaign, Fusion GPS, and Russia. There's clear evidence of the Clinton campaign colluding with Russian intelligence to spread disinformation and smear the president to influence the election. We've been saying from day one there's been no evidence of Trump-Russia collusion, and nothing in the indictment today changes that at all.
But the George Papadopoulos agreement is about the campaign. It is specifically about the campaign.
It has nothing to do with the activities of the campaign. It has to do with his failure to tell the truth. That doesn't have anything to do with the campaign or the campaign's activities.
But it is the clearest evidence yet of ties between the Trump campaign and Russian officials. So
Again, there are no activities or official capacity in which the Trump campaign was engaged in any of these activities. Most of them took place well before the campaign ever even existed. John?
Sarah, can you just explain what George Papadopoulos' role with the campaign was?
It was extremely limited. It was a volunteer position. And again, no activity was ever done in an official capacity on behalf of the campaign in that regard.
And what about the outreach that he was making to campaign officials to try to put together this
You
meeting?
mean that the outreach that was repeatedly denied and pushed
Well,
away
that's
and said,
what I meant.
we're not going to take any
That's what
action
I
on that?
meant. Can you explain what happened with his outreach?
He reached out and nothing happened beyond that, which I think shows, one, his level of importance in the campaign, and two, shows what little role he had within coordinating anything officially for the campaign. John Decker.
Thanks a lot, Sarah. I wanted to ask about Mr. Mueller's investigation. The president at times has called it a hoax, and he's called it a witch hunt. You've used similar type of language before as it relates to his investigation. Last week you indicated, Sarah, that you believe that Mr. Mueller is wrapping up his investigation. And I've heard similar things coming from other senior administration officials. Do you still believe that Mr. Mueller is in the process of wrapping up his investigation?
We still expect this to conclude soon, yes. Francesca?
Thank you, Sarah. Paul Manafort was high-ranking in the president's campaign at one time. I'd like to know what the president's relationship is with him now. Do they still talk? When was the last time they might have had contact?
As far as we can tell, we know that they haven't spoken in several months. The last known conversation was back all the way to February. And as far as anything beyond that, with Paul, I'm not sure of any
Rick
other
Gates as well?
contact. I know that there was some initial contact after the president was sworn in with him at meetings here at the White House, but nothing directly with the president. Deborah?
Yeah, thank you, Sarah. On March 31, according to the affidavit by Mr. Papadopoulos, he attended a foreign policy meeting. The president was there. He said that he talked about that Russia wanted to talk to the president. What did the president think when he said he wanted to arrange a meeting between Trump and Putin? And how did other people in the campaign react to that?
I'm not sure that the president recalls specific details of the meeting. Again, it was a brief meeting that took place quite some time ago. It was the one time that group ever met. And beyond that, I really don't have anything to add. John, Gizzy?
Yeah, thank you, Sarah. As you mentioned, Mr. Manafort, Mr. Gates were named in this for things not having anything to do with the campaign, but with alleged money laundering regarding other business. Now, under those circumstances, would the president consider or rule out pardoning either of them?
I haven't had any conversations with him about that. I think we should let the process play through before we start looking at those steps. And
Papadopoulos at this time was referring to Jeff Sessions at the time, who was overseeing Trump's Foreign Policy Advisory Committee. What does this mean for Jeff Sessions?
Somebody on a volunteer committee, I'm not sure how that would impact the Attorney General directly.
Can you say, given what we have learned over the last few hours, can you say when the president was first aware that Russia was behind the hacking and was in the possession of emails, what they consider to be damaging emails about the Clinton campaign that they were trying to get to the Trump campaign? When was he first aware of that?
I'm not sure of the specific date of when that took place, so I'd have to look into back.
Sarah, does the president regret having hired Paul Manafort to be his campaign manager? And is he and the rest of the White House concerned that this issue will distract from tax reform and the other domestic policy and foreign policy?
We're not worried about
priorities?
it distracting because it doesn't have anything to do with us, because this is something that is action that took place outside of the campaign or campaign activity.
And as far as whether he regrets having hired him to be a campaign manager?
I didn't ask him that question specifically.
Sarah, how can you describe Mr. Papadopoulos as having a limited role when there's a photograph of Mr. Papadopoulos sitting at a table with
The
then
president
candidate
has
Trump
thousands
at a
of
national
photographs
security
with
meeting?
millions of people, so.
He was also cited by then candidate Trump in a meeting with the Washington Post as to who his top foreign policy advisors are. That seems to fight against what you're saying. And also, how is it not collusion when George Papadopoulos is in contact with various people who are promising dirt on Hillary Clinton? A series of events that closely mirrors what occurred with the president's own son.
This individual
Being in
was
contact
on
with
a.
Russians in pursuit of information that was damaging about the Clintons. How is all of that not collusion?
Look, this individual was the member of a volunteer advisory council that met one time over the course of a year, and he was part of a list that was read out in the Washington Post. I'd hardly call that some sort of regular advisor, or as you want to, push that he's like a senior member of the staff. He was not paid by the campaign. He was a volunteer on a council that met once.
Worried about what you say? Collusion activities, Sarah. He was pursuing information from the Russians.
Again, he was a volunteer. I think that's some.
Okay. Well, I'm just reading up on this. They're talking about, oh, wow, that's crazy that he's calling me. They're talking about Papadopoulos saying something, and I guess Papadopoulos was a volunteer for the campaign, and he admitted that he lied about contacts with a Russian professor, according to court documents. And then Manafort is being indicted for money laundering, but it doesn't seem connected to the Trump campaign. And I don't understand why every time they ask her a question, she doesn't say, Hillary Clinton paid Russians to give information about Donald Trump to influence an election campaign. Every single question is not about Clinton. She should make every question about Clinton, is what I think. She's not doing a very good job. Welcome, everybody, on Twitch and on YouTube. I'm just playing this because it's news, and I can stream,
Then you need to ask him. I'm not here to speak on behalf of the thousands of people that may have volunteered on the campaign.
Believe it or not, I have a question on this, but also on tax reform. The president has called on Congress to investigate Hillary Clinton. Is he confident that they will do that?
I think that's a question you have to ask Congress, but I think that there are enough reports and enough information out there that seems to suggest it might not be a bad idea.
Congressional leaders of committees.
I don't know if he's had a member of Congress specifically tell him that they're planning.
My question about tax reform is where does the president stand on the idea of phasing in the corporate tax cut so it would reach 20% sometime around 2022?
I think the president's been clear that his priority is to make sure that that's where we start with the tax plan currently. I think, again, he's laid out what his principles are. As of right now, that hasn't changed, and don't anticipate that it will. Major?
Sir, just so we have the terminology straight, when you say George Papadopoulos had...
Tax plan's dead. Tax plan is dead, by the way. It's just a joke that they talk about it, to be honest. Tax plan is never going to happen. And for some reason, people in the stock market and stuff think it will. It's never, ever going to happen. Too many special interests.
No official capacity. What do you mean by that?
I mean, he was a volunteer on the campaign and a volunteer.
This is
member
Papadopoulos. I should do some research on that to figure out who the hell he is. And they're talking about Papadopoulos and Gates. Gates, junior partner of Manafort, appears on documents linked to companies that Mr. Manafort's firm set up in Cyprus to receive payments from politicians and business people in Eastern Europe. I'm sure Manafort's guilty of money laundering to enrich himself, working with the Russian government, but again, I don't see any connection to Trump. So, and I don't understand still, why she doesn't say, you know, there's clear information of money laundering and bribery dealing with the Uranium One case. They raided Manafort's home. He had the most clear connections with Russia, but he was involved in Ukraine too. He spent years as a political consultant for Mr. Yanukovych, former Ukrainian president and pro-Russia politician. Manafort worked with him. So, and they're still acting as if Russia hacked Hillary Clinton's emails, which is a joke. So those are the characters we have. I'd like to tell you more about Papadopoulos. Let's see, because they keep bringing him up. Okay. Separately, one of the early foreign policy advisors, apparently a volunteer. That's why she keeps saying there are thousands of volunteers for the campaign. Separately, one of the early foreign policy advisors to Mr. Trump's presidential campaign, George Papadopoulos, pleaded guilty to lying to the FBI about a contact with a professor with ties to the Kremlin, to Kremlin officials, prosecutors said. So that's a separate thing. And he admitted to lying about it. He met with some professor right after starting to work with the Trump campaign. Doesn't mean anything either. The indictment says for Manafort used his hidden overseas wealth to enjoy a lavish lifestyle in the United States without paying taxes on that income. And then Gates, who I guess works with Manafort, is accused of transferring more than $3 million from offshore accounts. And the two are also charged with making false statements. Quote, as part of the scheme, Manafort and Gates repeatedly provided false information to financial bookkeepers, tax accountants, and legal counsel, among others. Unquote. That's in the indictment. Okay.
Advisory council that met one time.
So these activities were entirely of his invention. No one asked him to do any of these things. Is that what you're telling the American public?
I'm telling you that he was a volunteer member of an advisory council that literally met one time.
What I ask is now there are two episodes in which people associated with the campaign at a rather high level, at least in one instance, and George Papadopoulos is a member of a foreign policy or military advisory committee, sought dirt on Hillary Clinton from people representing themselves as either linked to or associated with the Russian government. Is that just a coincidence?
Let me answer that question for Sarah Sanders. Hillary Clinton paid for a dossier at Hillary Clinton and the DNC through and obscured the payment so that there could be a problem with SEC guidelines. She obscured the payment in order to get intelligence from Russian agents, from foreign agents, on to influence a presidential campaign. Okay, I just answered it.
The only interaction I'm aware of that deals with this individual was him reaching out and being repeatedly denied. So that's all I can tell you is he asked to do things, he was basically pushed back or not responded to in any way. So any actions that he took would have been on his own, and you'd have to ask him about those because I can't answer.
Later activities of the campaign to have that same kind of meeting at Trump Tower.
I'm sorry?
What explains the campaign's later involvement with those associated with the Russian government, or said they were, to get dirt on Hillary Clinton later in the campaign?
We've
Are these
addressed that.
things
They
too?
took one meeting, nothing came of it. No, I don't believe so.
That does not indicate a pattern of trying to obtain that information from
A
that
pattern
government.
of getting information about your opponent. No, the big difference here is you have a meeting that took place versus millions of dollars being sent to create fake information to actually influence the election. You compare those two, those are apples and oranges. What the Clinton campaign did, what the DNC did, was actually exchange money. They took a meeting. Those are far different. And one is pretty common practice in any campaign to take a meeting. The other one is actually paying money for false information. That's a big deal and a big difference.
Thanks, Sarah. I have two questions for you, but first, if I could follow.
Yes. I'm going to play it again. This is why it's great watching on my channel, because you get to hear this stuff twice. With commentary. She got it right finally.
One meeting, nothing came of it. No, I don't believe so.
That does not indicate a pattern of trying to obtain that information from that
pattern
government.
of getting information about your opponent. No, the big difference here is you have a meeting that took place versus millions of dollars being sent to create fake information to actually influence the election. You compare those two, those are apples and oranges. What the Clinton campaign did, what the DNC did, was actually exchange money. They took a meeting. Those are far different, and one is pretty common practice in any campaign to take a meeting. The other one is actually paying money for false information. That's a big deal and a big difference.
Thanks, Sarah. I have two questions for you, but first, if I could follow up on your comment there about the GPS dossier. This is an issue that many senior level administration officials have pointed to during these questions about the special counsel. Has the White House asked the Department of Justice to look into this issue?
Not that I'm aware of.
Can I follow up on Mueller? You've spoken with the president today?
Yes, I have.
Can you give us a little bit about his reaction to the news this morning? Obviously, news that swept the nation's capital. But how did the president respond to this news about two people who did work for his campaign? Was he disappointed that Paul Manafort received this news today that he was being charged on these 12 counts?
He responded the same way the rest of us in the White House have, and that's without a lot of reaction because it doesn't have anything to do with us.
Sarah, we are now talking about two of the most senior members of the campaign at a very pivotal time, through and including the RNC last year, who are now under federal indictment, charged with very serious crimes that admittedly they did not allegedly conduct during their work for the campaign. But doesn't it speak to the president's judgment that he would choose to have these two individuals in very high positions, having allegedly committed these crimes in the years leading up to their roles?
These were seasoned operatives, not, you make it sound like they were, regular offenders that have been in massive amounts of trouble. These were seasoned operatives that worked on a number of campaigns. Paul Manafort was brought in to lead the delegate process, which he did, and was dismissed not too long after that.
And the president has no regrets.
Again, I didn't ask him that question specifically. April?
What leads you to believe that the Mueller investigation will conclude soon? Do you also believe that there could be more indictments? And my third question, on another subject, welfare reform. The president talked about this a couple of weeks ago, and I've been trying to find out what is the focus, how do you plan to implement welfare reform?
We haven't made any specific announcements when it comes to welfare reform. Those are ongoing conversations, and we're looking at ways to improve the system, but nothing specific to roll out at this time. Sorry, what was the first part of your question?
The first one, what leads you to believe that this will conclude soon, the Mueller investigation? Have you been given a heads up? What?
Those are the indications that we have at this time. I can't go, any further than that.
Indications from who and where? Sarah, indications from where?
As I just said, I can't go any further.
And also, what about, you don't believe there'll be any more indictments at all?
That's a question you'd have to ask Robert Mueller.
You're saying that it's going to be concluded soon.
I still attend that we believe that it will be concluded soon, but beyond that, I don't have anything else to add on a specific time frame.
Sarah, in March, the president called March 2016, the president called George Papadopoulos an excellent guy. Does he still believe that Papadopoulos is an excellent guy?
Look, he was referring to the council. He was going through the list of names with the Washington Post, and nothing more than that, and complimentary of the people that were volunteering on behalf of the campaign.
Told me that a campaign supervisor told him, I would encourage you to make the trip to Russia if feasible. How does that not constitute the campaign encouraging him to make contact with Russia?
I'm not aware of that conversation, so I can't speak to that.
Sarah, at the end of the day, is there any concern at all from this administration, again, trying to drill down on what was asked earlier, that two people who worked for the president are now under indictment? One has pleaded guilty, and he promised to hire only the best people. Is this an example of the best people to hire?
Look, again, this
is a ridiculous line of questioning, by the way, in case you didn't notice. They're asking, they're acting as if it's Donald Trump's fault that he hired these guys, when I don't know that he knew about the activity. And these are people, when she said they're seasoned operatives, it didn't come out right, but basically they're people that have worked on a bunch of campaigns, and it was common to hire them basically, and that they didn't have knowledge of this other stuff. And the stuff he's indicted for is just regular stuff that all businessmen probably do right now in this country. And they just decided to go after him to try to leverage him against Trump. And he's not going to say anything about Trump because he's because he knows to keep his mouth shut, I think, and I doubt he has anything anyway. I don't think there is any evidence of collusion with the Russians. You can see where the press is going with it, though. Like I said, I would answer the question. I would answer every question by saying, why isn't the Senate, or why aren't you asking a question about documented evidence that the Hillary Clinton campaign and the DNC funneled money through a law firm so that it couldn't be traced, could be up to $10 million, to pay a foreign operative to get information, which they get through paying typically, from Russian government informants in order to influence and false information, right? A U.S. election, and lied about it. Potentially in breach of SEC guidelines, and certainly another. And then beyond that, I would say, why aren't you asking about how the Clinton Foundation was remunerated in hundreds of I don't know about, well, a lot of money, millions and millions of dollars. Why did Bill Clinton get a $500,000 fee for a speech to a Russian Kremlin-connected organization right when the Uranium One deal happened? That's what I would answer. Every single question, actually. I wouldn't even dignify him. Oh, why did you hire these guys? Do you still think he's a good guy? He said he was a good guy. Does he believe that still? Be like, you should be asking about the Uranium One deal. Next question.
Goes back to these were activities that took place outside of the scope of the campaign. I can't comment on anything they did.
But are these the best people to hire?
Look, the president hired Paul Manafort to handle the delegate process, which he did, and he was dismissed not too long after that.
Sarah, last week the administration opposed a federal judge's decision that allowed an undocumented teen immigrant to have an abortion. Now that case is over, it's been decided she's had that abortion. What is the White House reaction to that decision, and does it set a dangerous precedent going forward?
I can't comment on the specifics of that at this point.
Case at all? Did he comment on it?
I didn't speak directly with him about the case.
Sarah, thank you. I'd like to ask you about a different topic. Just breaking before the briefing, court banned the president from changing military policy on service by transgender people. What's the reaction from the White House and the plan moving forward in reference to this?
Obviously, this is something just announced. The Department of Justice has it. They're reviewing it, and I'd refer them to any specific questions.
Congressman Gowdy this weekend had suggested that there should be an investigation into the leaks of the grand jury investigation or Robert Mueller's investigation. Do you think there should?
Okay, that's true. So they're mad about. So Mueller's running a disinformation campaign, perhaps. He's running this FBI thing, and people can't have faith in it if grand jury things that happen within a closed grand jury are leaking out to the press. Like he leaked out this weekend that indictments were coming. Somebody leaked that out. Somebody who was in a closed grand jury proceeding. And that makes the FBI proceedings seem less credible when you have that kind of information coming out. And that's why Sessions is looking to, Gowdy thinks they should be investigating that, which is maybe true.
The investigation, are you all asking for an investigation?
We haven't asked.
Because what did he release that for? For political reasons? Because there's so much focus on the Clintons?
For that investigation to take
Support
place.
an investigation?
I think that anytime there is leaking of sensitive information, it should be looked into, but beyond that, we don't have any comment. Kristen?
Sarah, thanks. Does the president in any way hold Jared Kushner responsible for hiring Paul Manafort? After all, he was an early supporter of bringing him on board.
Not that I'm aware of, no.
And Sarah, to just follow up on the point of hiring the best people, the top people, he said, does this not at the very least raise questions about President Trump's vetting process and judgment when it comes to bringing on these people?
I don't believe so. I think I've answered that quite a few times today.
Sarah, two quick questions. To the president, you said back in July that the president believed that the investigation for the special counsel should stay within the confines of Russian election meddling. Given what we've learned today, does the president believe Bob Mueller overstepped the boundaries of his investigation?
I haven't spoken with him specifically about that detail.
Okay, my second question, Sarah, would just be on the topic of regarding the plea agreement with George Papadopoulos. You've indicated that the president did not remember that March 31st meeting, the photograph, right?
No, I didn't say he didn't remember the meeting. I said he didn't remember those comments from.
Did he remember anything about that meeting, his interactions with Papadopoulos, given that he's talked about his great memory?
I don't believe that he went into detail about the meeting itself. He remembers it taking place, but we didn't go into anything beyond that or any specifics.
And specifically did not remember the Russia comment? Did you remember Papadopoulos' presence? Did they have interaction?
Not that I'm aware of.
Thank you, Sarah. Gallup just came out with a poll giving 33% approval, 62% disapproval to the president. What's your reaction? Is the president aware of this? Any plans of changing anything?
Look, we're focused aggressively on pushing forward on a very bold agenda specific to tax reform, tax cuts. I think that the economy continuing to grow and strengthen is something that will certainly change those numbers. But at the same time, I think these are some of the same polls that also said this president would never be president, so I don't have a lot of confidence in them.
Sarah,
Take one last one.
Sarah, can you please clarify? Sorry, can you please clarify your answer tomorrow? The stock market is moving downwards on this news that possibly the corporate rate could be phased in over several years. I wasn't sure if you were trying to make the point that the president would be for a phase-in or against a phase-in.
No, I said that the president.
The stock market going down, by the way, the stock market doesn't go down. It's down. S&P is down 9 points, 9.5 points, 0.37%. The stock market doesn't go down anymore. We'll see. We'll see. Doesn't matter what the news is. Oh, they decided who's going to. They think they know who's going to lead the central bank. That probably has more influence. Maybe I'll talk about that after this. The stock market. Stock market doesn't ever go down until it will a lot.
Laid out his principles, and it doesn't include the phasing in, so we're still committed to that moving forward. But and I don't have any reason to believe we have changes on that front at this point.
So the red line of a 20% corporate rate tax cut.
I'm not drawing a red line. I'm just saying those are the principles that we've laid out, and we haven't adjusted or changed our principles since this process started. Thanks so much, guys. Have a good day.
Okay, I played it for you. That's it. Let me tell you what else is going on. The $300 million to Whitefish Energy is being investigated. Here's the one. Here's the news you guys want to hear. Brand new, hot off the press. We just watched the press briefing from Sarah Sanders. They talked about the indictments for Paul Manafort. This is the latest off Zero Hedge. Tony Podesta resigns as head of Podesta Group amid Mueller probe. As the left and the media ramp up their Manafortian mania against Trump, it appears the trail of destruction from special counsel Mueller's probe has spread to Democratic power lobbyist Tony Podesta. Paul Manafort's under charges. His deputy Rick Gates, Gates, who's the other one mentioned in the indictment, worked with the Podesta Group. Great. Emails obtained by the Associated Press show that Gates personally directed two Washington lobbying firms, Mercury LLC and the Podesta Group, between 2012 and 2014 to set up meetings between a top Ukrainian official and senators and congressmen on influential committees involving Ukrainian interests. Gates noted in the emails that the official, Ukraine's foreign minister, did not want to use his own embassy in the United States to help coordinate the visits. And this is where the plot thickens, because while the bulk of the press has so far spun the entire Ukraine lobbying scandal, which led to Manafort's resignation as the latest proof that pro-Moscow powers were influencing not only Manafort, but the Trump campaign in general, the reality is that a firm closely tied with the Democratic Party, the Podesta Group, is just as implicated. As AP further adds, the European Center for a Modern Ukraine, a Brussels-linked nonprofit entity which allegedly ran the lobbying project, paid Mercury and the Podesta Group combined $2.2 million over roughly 2 years. In papers filed in the U.S. Senate, Mercury and the Podesta Group listed the European nonprofit as an independent, non-political client. The firm said the center stated in writing it was not aligned with any foreign political entity. And now Tony Podesta is stepping down. Wow. That's like Weinstein stepping down from the Weinstein Group. Podesta stepping down from Podesta. Interesting. Great. That's the good news with the Mueller probe. And I like it when everybody gets hit, personally. Okay, is there anything else to talk about? Oh, I have something interesting that I found in the I have something interesting I found in the JFK files. I'm just starting reading through them. There's supposed to be another. Hey, everybody! There's supposed to be another drop of JFK files today, so I'm going to look for them because Trump said he released all of them, which means he authorized the release of all of them. So I've been looking for them, but in the meantime, I hadn't had time to go through them because I wanted to do it myself. We have all this stuff that people already said. This is interesting. There's a document here. I'll show you. There's a document here about Operation Mongoose, which was is it called Operation Mongoose? Yeah, Operation Mongoose which was an attempt to overthrow the government of Cuba. And they talk a lot about sabotage and how they intend to sabotage Cuba by harassing their trade, etc. The one that's really interesting and it's circled here, which is interesting too, is this thing about agricultural sabotage. General Carter emphasized the extreme sensitivity of any such operation and the disastrous results that would flow from something going wrong, particularly if there were obvious attribution to the U.S. He went on to say, however, that it would be possible to accomplish this purpose, which is agricultural sabotage, by methods more subtle than those indicated in the paper. He mentioned specifically the possibility of producing crop failures by the introduction of biological agents, which would appear to be of natural origin. Mr. Bundy said that he had no worries about any such sabotage which could clearly be made to appear as the result of local Cuban disaffection or of a natural disaster, but that we must avoid external activities such as the release of chemicals, etc., unless they could be completely covered up. So, if people need proof that we might do something like that, introduce biological agents in order to do agricultural sabotage, that's something we've tried before too, or certainly thought about. And that they're trying to distribute explosives to Cubans. He said the problem is not one of supplies, but rather that the people have shown no inclination to use such materials. So they're trying to encourage people to blow stuff up, and they're not finding anybody who's interested in blowing stuff up. Plenty of bombs, no people involved in blowing stuff up. Okay, that's something I found this morning. I don't think I have anything else for right now. I was streaming this live on Twitch. I'm going to try to do some exclusive stuff on Twitch because I have to get my numbers up there, because the way it works on Twitch is the more people who are tuned in, the higher you rank. It's that simple. So I'm going to need to do things kind of half and half. Maybe I'll do second halves of shows on or something on Twitch only, if I can get people to tune in there and call in there. It looks like that's the way it works. I know it kind of works like that on YouTube too, but YouTube isn't the platform for the future. I'm thinking about getting more people tuned in on Twitch. Because I'm a partner there, I can make money. Okay? Buy t-shirts. I just shipped out a whole bunch today. Now, if you buy them, they ship out right away. And we have shipping to the whole world, pretty much. I mean, most places, but people listen. Shipping, I just shipped to Australia this morning. Canada. We can still ship to Europe and the UK. It's not that expensive. We have all the pricing in. So things are good. And we're going to look at getting more stuff. In case you're wondering about that, how to support stuff like this, where I come on and tell you guys the news whenever possible, go to lifttheveil411.com and get one of these black t-shirts, first edition. They're numbered, stamped, and we're running out of a few sizes. Large and extra large I should have ordered more of. So those are going to be gone, and then that's it. You can't get a first edition t-shirt anymore if it doesn't fit you. And then we're going to get some other stuff like stickers, coffee mugs, and probably another t-shirt design. So anyway, that's at lifttheveil411.com. That's how you can support the show. You can also go to patreon.com/lifttheveil. The links are in the thing, which looks like this. I don't get much money, and I'm trying to move out of my dad's house. But there are a few levels. I'm going to do some Patreon only exclusive stuff. So if you donate already $5 or more, I think you can claim your reward or something. And then if you don't donate $5, you probably want to at least that much, because you get that much value from the show if you listen a lot, because I'm on the air all the time giving you guys news. Okay? So that's what's up. And then I can bring you more gear. Doshi gear. That's the thing people are asking for. I want to get beanies, hoodies, all that stuff. It's going to be a whole brand. Is there anything I need to talk to people about? I'll look at what people are saying. I think everybody's good. Does anybody have any questions? I can do a little question and answer. If anybody has, I can look at the chat. I'll show you the Discord invite right there. Discord is popping, but we need more positive people in Discord. Everybody's being negative lately, and people don't like that. People engage in it basically through subconscious influence, because there are trolls in there now. And you can't get rid of them. You can't just, it's not as simple as just banning them. They come back under different names. Better to just identify them and then block them if you're in Discord. The invite's right there. You have to type in lowercase and uppercase letters. If you're on YouTube, this is where you go to watch the show. This is the permanent home of the show. And that's where things stay after the fact. Like, I won't keep this on YouTube, I don't think. I don't think that's what I'm going to do. Doshi, do you think I should keep this on YouTube? It's not really he doesn't have an opinion, I guess. It's not really a show, is it? Oh, here. Are people saying anything? I don't think people are. I don't think people are listening to the show. Oh, good. Somebody said body language channel's no good. Good for you guys. You guys have Doshi emojis on Discord? Wow, that's cool. I don't know how you guys do all that stuff. Doshi sounded good. Oh, Solari doesn't think giving $5 a month is worthwhile. That's okay. Give as much as you think. You don't have to give any. Whatever you think you get from it. Some people only watch this show, or it's their favorite show. So that's all. It's for those people. Anybody else have anything to say? Apparently, I have the best Discord chat anywhere. I mean, from what people say, I've been to different Discord chats, because it's active like 24/7. There are always people talking in there. Some of them are trolls, paid to be there, but some people still engage with them. Most people do, actually. I'm looking at the chats. I'm just having fun with everybody. Okay. I think that's what's up. Thanks, everybody, for tuning in. Catch me on Twitch. Subscribe on Twitch if you're not already. And then I'll be doing some stuff exclusively on Twitch. I was going to do this exclusively on Twitch, but people thought I should do it on YouTube too. Just went over the press conference. Okay. Thanks, everybody. I'll see you maybe later today, although maybe not. We'll see. I have to do some research for some other stuff I'm working on. And maybe the JFK files will come out today, the remaining. Doshi says goodbye. I say goodbye. See you later.